Thank you, Ms. Hartland. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. Excuse me. My name is Mr. Robert Hutchings. I'll be chairing the hearing today. I'm joined on the panel by Ms. Lynn Nesbitt and Mr. Kevin Stephenson. Representing the City of Winnipeg Assessment Department is Mr. Clayton Deitchen, and our administrative personnel is Mrs. Crystal Harland. We have no Zoom participants. Is that correct, Ms. Harland?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Please be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with this Board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following their swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony first, followed by questioning by the applicant and the panel, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questioning by the assessor and the panel. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions based on the evidence presented here today. You will receive the Board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. Today we will be hearing items 1 and then 4 through 8 on our docket today. Mrs. Harlan, please affirm the assessor and the applicant's testimony. First item on the docket is item number 1, file number 24-408.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Would you like me to affirm now?
No, I'll start the first file, please.
Okay.
First item on the docket is file number 24-408. File number 13096144300. It is a 2025 realty appeal. Excuse me. Please affirm both the applicant and the assessor, Mrs. Harland.
Mr. Applicant, would you please stand? Would you please state your full name?
My name is Sagnuna.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you.
Mr. Assessor, would you please state your full name?
Clayton Deitchen.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Harland. Good morning to the applicant and the assessor. Mr. Deitchen, bear with us while we get your brief open, please. When you're ready, please file number 24-408.
We're all ready?
Yes.
Okay. File number 24-408. Roll number is 13096144300. and it's on Ellis Avenue. This is a 2025 assessment, and the value is $407,000. It is a vacant commercial piece of land at a size of 12,507 square feet. Scrolling down to page 2 is the land valuation, just showing the size 12,507 at a square foot rate of 32.54. Brings us to the $407,000 valuation. Page 3 is my land sale comparables. So there's 8 of them on there. There's a mix of some multifamily and C2, but I would mostly put my weight on the comparable 6, 7, and 8, mainly because they are C2 properties and very close to the subject, as zoning is very important when it comes to valuing land property, because the developmental potential is different between different zonings. So again, I would put my weight on comp 6, 7, and 8. Continuing on to page 4 is the subject property photos. You can see an aerial view of the property. Page 5 is just the zoning overhead, showing that it is C2, and you can see a number of C2 properties around there. And then there's a bit of a description of the C2 zoning. Continuing on to page 6 and on is just the comparable land sale comparable photos. And that goes all the way to page 21. And then the last couple pages is just the Municipal Assessment Act excerpts. And that is my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deitchen. Good morning to the applicant. Do you have any questions of the assessor's evidence presented?
Yes, I got a question. When you're looking at the page 3, comparable number 7, 216 Sierra Street, C2, the price is $279,000, and the land size is 61.51 square feet. The square foot price is 45.36. When you're looking at the page 18, assessor is confirming the square footage is 12,000.7 square feet. Based on the 12,007 square feet, assessor had to confirm it to me back. The square foot price is, what's the square foot price?
Sorry, can you say that again? I was having a hard time hearing.
What is your question specifically, sir?
Okay, what's the question is that comparable number 7, he entered the square footage is wrong. I want to find out which is the right square footage.
I don't
Page
think.
3,
Oh, I think I see what happened here. It looks like the pictures got duplicated on comparable 6 and 7. It looks like it's the same one. It should be the property 2 lots over. It's just the picture on page 18 is incorrect.
So just to
I think
clarify,
that was I don't know if that was the question, but
just to clarify, Mr. Deitchen, page 18, the highlighted area number 198,
yeah.
would actually be the smaller lot, two higher on the page.
Yeah, you can see that's 198, and that's my comparable 6. So
Okay.
it's just the incorrect overhead view.
Okay.
My apologies. Yeah.
So which is right, the one on the page 18 or the one on the page 3?
Sorry?
What's the right square footage, page 3 or page 18?
Page 3.
Page 3.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that page 18 is a wrong square footage then?
It's just the wrong property. You can see that it's highlighted 198 Sherbrooke. It should be 2 lots above it at 216 Sherbrooke.
Next one, comparable number 5. Comparable number 5 on the page 14. The same thing again, the square footage is wrong. Could you explain to me why is 2 different square footage?
That's a double check page. So you're talking about comparable 5?
Comparable 5, page 3, you declare as a 6,601 square feet.
Yeah.
Page 14, you confirm it is a 6,222 square
Yeah,
feet.
Yeah, that's just a rough, like you just draw like the area. It's not 100% accurate. The ones on page 3 are the accurate square footages.
So what are you telling me? Everything is everything is wrong on the page. Page from
No, it's just showing the overhead view. It's regardless of the square footage, it shows up because that's just someone who drew the area on there.
it's not one. Few of them is wrong on the square footage. So,
It's just the overhead view that we're looking at. Page 3 is all the accurate square footages.
so now we have to ignore all the document whatever attached to the page 5 to 19.
What? Sorry, what was the question?
Most of them is not matching the square footage.
Sorry?
Could you explain to me why the square footage is not matched?
As I said, those yellow squares that are drawn on there, those are just us drawing out the area just to highlight the view. And then it pulls the square footage. So it might not be 100% accurate the way we drew it because we just do like a drawing of it just to highlight it. And then it pulls the square footage. To be 100% accurate, it would be impossible. So I would just say disregard the little bubble that shows the square footage on there and then look at page 3 and that's the correct. It's just to highlight the area just so we could see the overhead view of it.
It is mainly to show the location of the comparables.
Yes, sorry, like I should have maybe tried to get rid of those little bubbles, but there was no way.
So to the applicant, the assessor is relying on the information on page 3 as to be accurate.
Thank you, Chairman.
Any other questions of the assessor's evidence, sir?
No other questions, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Stephenson, any questions of the assessor?
No questions at this time.
Ms. Nesbitt?
I have a question. Do economies of scale come into play when you're dealing with vacant commercial land? Or what's the main driver? What's the main drivers?
I would say zoning is the biggest factor in vacant land.
Zoning. So a C2 zoning.
Yeah, comparing C2s to C2s, residential to residential, that kind of thing.
And so what about economies of scale? Does that come into play at all when you're talking about sales?
It can, but it's hard to quantify. Like I couldn't speak to it.
Okay. Your comparable 6 to 8, there's quite a range in the square footage, or not the square footage, but the sale price, like from $34, almost $35 to $52. So, what are we sort of to make of that? Your rate is just slightly less than the lowest rate of your comparables. So
I would say speaking to that, 198 Sherbrooke would probably be the best because it's about the same size. As for the other two being smaller and a bit less, it would be hard to say without looking too far into them. They're a bit older sales as well.
yeah.
Than comp 6.
And you didn't bring a map that shows them all plotted out, so we could see. Yeah, so we could see where they are in relation to each other.
No,
I know that's hard when you're dealing with ones from across the city, but these you pulled from a fairly tight area.
Yeah, I know for sure the comp 6, 7, and 8 are about 4-minute drives when I was looking them up.
About a 4-minute drive from our subject.
Yes,
And what about 6?
6, 7, and 8. Yeah.
Oh, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah,
Okay,
sorry.
sorry, I
Those
didn't
ones
hear
are
you.
about
Yeah.
4 minutes when I was pretty much all my comparables were within the 5 to 6, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah. Yeah,
And,
these seem to be all close together. Yeah.
yeah, and I try to get ones that are close by because that's more accurate.
Okay, thank you. No
Thank you.
further questions. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Deitchen, what is the exact location of the subject property? I'm trying to determine it here.
I believe it's Ellis and Simcoe is the corner. Yeah, Ellis and Simcoe, right on the corner of Ellis and Simcoe.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, or the next block over, I guess, yeah. So we are located between Sherbrooke and Arlington,
Yes.
closer to Sherbrooke, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
No, closer to Arlington.
okay, closer to Arlington, okay. And the comparables that you've noted, 6, 7, and 8, 198 and 216 Sherbrooke, would that be south of Portage?
I'm not too sure.
And 530 Notre Dame would be closer to
Have to double check.
Hargrave or Isabel, I guess.
Yeah, it's close to like on the corner of Spence and Notre Dame.
Oh, okay, Spencer.
Notre Dame and Cumberland. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay.
I'm sorry, where were the Sherbrooke ones?
Let me double check here so I don't misspeak. The Sherbrooke ones are close to the corner of Broadway and Sherbrooke, so in between Maryland and Sherbrooke.
Between Portage and Westminster, maybe?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Anything else, Lynn?
No, thank you for getting at that location.
Thank you. Okay, and that's all my questions. To the applicant, bear with us 1 second while we pull up your brief, please. Is everybody ready? Okay, sir, when you are ready, please.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to start with page 2. I put the table of contents, the property description, sale history of title, restriction and engraftment, direct comparison approach, conclusion and final estimate and reconciliation, no time adjustment, and email from property, urban planning and property and development, and then email from Board of Revision, page 15 to 16. Page 3, that's the property, the subject property we're talking about today. Page 3, and then page 4, the property is it's a two piece of property. Now they combine as a one property. Number 5, when you look at the property, you can see it's a residential property. Land numbers are 39, 38, 37, 36, 35 is a residential property. Go to page 6. I got a comparison of two of table 1 and table 2. Table 1, I'm comparing a Winnipeg marketplace C2 and M1. The subject property, the number 1 subject property is bought it at 102,500, bought it in 2007. Comparable 1, 265 Princess Street, fifth of May 17, $337,000. The square footage is at 22,459. Square foot as sale price at $15.01 a square foot. 221 Higgins. Sold it for 338,400. 13,663 square feet. The total square footage is 2477. 601 Jackson, C2, sold it for 338,400. Square footage is 13,663. The sale price is 2477. 30 Heidi Avenue, sold it for $215,000. The square footage is $22,240 square feet and $9.67 a square foot. 657 Jarvis Avenue, M2, sold it for $105,000, 14,647 square feet. Comes to $7.17 a square foot. 5198 Providence, sold it for $200,000, 19,870 square feet, $10.09. 675 Archibald, C2, sold it for $180,000, 11,244 square feet, $16.01 a square foot. 775 Henderson, C2, sold it for $325,555, 17,247 square feet, $18.88 a square foot. 720 Aaron Street, M1, sold it for $400,000, 18,521 square feet, $21.60 a square foot. 1860 Ellis Avenue, same street is a subject property, sold it for $950,000, 39,122 square feet, $24.28. Sorry, $24.28. I come with the average for all the table one. On your right hand side, you can see average is at $17.39 a square foot. Then table two, Winnipeg Marketplace and R2 family residence. I compare the subject property 752 Ellis Avenue and 756 Ellis Avenue. I'm comparing a 488 Banning, sold it for $56,000. Square feet is $24.75 and sold it for $22.63. 490 Banning, sold it for $55,000, 2,475 square feet, $22.22. 369 Home Street, sold it for $52,000, 2,495 square feet, $20.84. 577 McDermott, sold it for $95,000, 4,061 square feet, $23.39. The average for the all four properties come to $22.22. Sorry, $22.27. Then when you go down, go to the page 7. For that date, page 7, based on the BCom C2 analysis, the subject property would be able to achieve selling price in the range of $7.17 a square feet and no more than $26.48 a square feet. Weighted average approach the reference date is $17.39 per square foot. Based on the above R2 residentials, two family analysis, the subject property would be able to achieve selling price, the range no less than $20.84 a square feet and no more than $23.39 a square feet. The weighted average approaching the reference date is $22.22 square feet. With the consideration given both commercial and residential development, the marketplace development located to close approximately to the subject property along Ellis, Sargent, and St. Matthews Avenue clearly demonstrate that residential development is the predominant and highest and the best use. Of the sale of the comparable analysis, the owner has chosen apply $22.27 a square foot per square foot for a subject property because the most probable rate on the subject property would achieve on the reference date. Determination of the market value, 12,501 square feet multiplied by $22.27 square foot come to $278,397. I rounded up to $279,000. Then you go to the page 8, final estimated reconciliation, direct comparison come to $279,000. Based on the data analysis and conclusion contained in this report, the value indicated direct comparison approach considered to be the most reliable and the value concluded on the reference date is April 1, 2023, $279,000. Based on this value conclusion, the owner is requesting that the Board of Revision decrease the assessment to the subject property from $407,000 to $279,000. And there's a note from, I got an email from Board of Revision, page 15, 16. Board of Revision email says this particular property is a residential, it's not commercial. So I want to ask Mr. Chairman to clarify if this property is a residential or the commercial. When you go back to the board of page 12, I got an email from the senior planner, urban planning property for the development, and Ross. He confirmed on the page 13, this is the residential property, he proposing houses for these properties. So I believe this property is not commercial, it's a residential. So I believe it's confirmed by the Board of Revision and the urban senior planner for the urban planning and Ross. That's it.
Thank you to the applicant. Mr. Deitchen, any questions of the applicant's presentation?
Yeah, a couple. Oh, sorry. So are you basing your valuation solely on the residential comparables?
Yes, I'm comparing when you're looking at the page 6, I'm comparing this, actually I come with the comparable with the residential. If you believe it's a commercial, then I had to go back and ask for a $17.39 a square foot. Commercial, so it's a cheap, less price than the residential.
Okay. What is the current zoning of the subject property?
Subject property is a zone for C2.
Okay.
But the Board of Revision confirmed it is residential. Also,
well, that was my only question. Do you know the developmental differences in potential of various zonings such as C2, R2, M1s.
Yeah, but based on the property, the layout on page, when you look at the page, 5, it clearly demonstrates it's a residential property.
Right, but I'm just asking you if you know the differences between different zonings and what can be built on those properties.
On this property, we can build a residential or commercial,
Mhm.
either one.
Yeah, can you do that on on an R2 property?
Yes, our property, look at the page, answer the question, page 13.
Mhm.
It could, Andrew Ross, a senior planner, confirmed to me as a residential property, he will support, to build houses.
Right, but can you build commercial on a residential property?
That's what I can't tell you, I'm not a zoning officer, I can't answer the question.
Um, looking at your comparables on page 6, comparable 1, are you aware that this was a dollar sworn value sale?
Sorry, I can't hear you, sorry,
Comparable 1, are you aware that this was a dollar sale for sworn value?
comparable one. So I can't hear, tell me again one more time, please.
Are you aware that this was a dollar sworn value sale?
Oh, that, I don't know the dollar.
Are you aware that this property sold again in 2018 for $1.2 million?
No, I don't follow your question.
This, are you aware that this property, comparable 1, 265 Princess, sold again in 2018, in August 2018 for $1,204,000 at
Oh, that one I
$53.61.
don't know. That I don't know.
Okay. Um, uh, comparable 3, are you aware that this was a multi-role sale?
Would that be a yes or a no to the question?
Oh, I can't answer that question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Comparable 6, are you aware that there was a sworn value of $590,000 on this property?
Oh, that, I don't know I don't know the report from on that sale.
Okay. Comparable 7, are you aware that this was also a dollar sale?
Well, that, I don't know about the dollar sale.
Okay. Comparable 8, are you aware that this property sold again in 2018 for $470,000?
I have no knowledge of that one.
Okay. I guess going on to your residential sales now, the one comparable 11, 12, and 13 are quite old, 12, 13 years old now. Did you do any time adjustments for these sales?
There's no time adjustment for the land, vacant land. It's confirmed by, it's a, the email confirmed by the assessment.
There is time adjustments for sale.
There's no time adjustment for
There is though. Okay. Do you believe that land value has gone up over 12, 13 years?
I don't believe so.
You think it stayed the same over just indefinitely?
No, I am the real estate guy, so I can't answer the question about the value of the land.
But you own a vacant piece of land, correct? And would you think that that land has gone up in value?
I don't think so.
No. Okay. Looking. Sorry, bear with me. I just had a question about this email that you got. It looks like page 11. It has a little thing that says this information may be confidential and distribution, copying, or disclosure is strictly prohibited. Were you given permission to submit this today?
Sorry, what page is it?
Looks like page 11. There's like a little blurb that from this email that you were referencing.
Where is it? I can't find it.
I mean, it's on
Oh,
your.
for me, okay, I see that one, yeah.
Right at the top.
Yeah, I see that one, yeah.
Yeah. Were you given permission to
Oh,
submit this?
this email, I got it from the assessment department.
Right, but it says that it's strictly prohibited to distribute, copy, or disclose this information. Correct?
Yeah, they say that, yes.
Okay. No further questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Deitchen. Ms. Nesbitt, any questions of the applicant?
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stephenson?
Yes, one question. Why did you omit the comparables from 2018 to the data reference in 2023? Like, it seems to be there's data out there that would be the comparables you submitted were end at 2017. So there's almost a 5-year gap of comparables to support your argument. Can you give a reason why you omitted the comparables?
Sorry, I don't follow your question, sir.
Sorry,
I don't follow your question.
you don't
Please?
follow my question?
Yeah,
I'll ask one more time. Your comparables go to 2017. The data reference is April 1st, 2023. There's sales data between 2017 and 2023. Why did you omit it from your submission?
oh, I couldn't find the sales myself.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know what's going on now.
Anything else, Mr. Stephenson?
That's it all. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. To the applicant, I just would like clarification. I believe that in questioning by the assessor, you stated that in your opinion, the comparisons that you presented on page 6 represent fair market value for 2023.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Okay. And on page 6, if we look at the parcel use code in your table 1, there's VCOUM. Is that an error? Should that be VCOMM, vacant commercial? Under next to street parcel use code PUC, you've got a coding there, and some of them are VCOUM. What can you explain what those are? As opposed to VCOMM, vacant commercial.
Oh, okay, it's a typo. Sorry.
Okay, it's a typo. Okay, perfect. Okay,
Sorry.
thank you. And just to confirm, currently the zoning on the subject property is C2, and it's rated by the assessment department as vacant commercial. Is that correct? It's zoned C2, commercial 2?
It's zoned for C2 conditional. It's not a C2, it's a
Okay.
conditional.
Okay, but it is zoned conditional C2.
Conditional C2, but allowed to build residential.
Okay,
So you can do either way,
okay,
commercial or residential.
all right. Okay. That is my only questions. Mr. Deitchen, any requirement for summary?
Yes, I'll just summarize in saying that when comparing land, zoning is the biggest thing to look at, and
Sorry, Mr. Deitchen, microphone, please. Thank you.
I was just going to summarize in saying that when looking at commercial or looking at land, you can't compare commercial to residential. You got to look at the zoning and compare those side by side. Thank you.
Thank you. To the applicant, any requirement for summary?
Okay, and based on based on the information I provided to the board, based on the value of conclusion, the owner requesting the Board of Revision decrease the assessment property to $279,000.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir, for appearing, and you will hear from us. We'll consider all the evidence presented by both parties, and you'll hear from us as soon as possible. You may leave if you wish. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes item number 1, file number 24-408.
No, okay. Okay.
Thank you. I get a vote.
That's great.
And yeah. Thank you.
Can the representatives of item number 4, file number 24-564, please appear before the board? Good morning.
Whoa.
Good morning.
Good morning. Ms. Harlan, can you please swear in the applicants?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Would you please stand? Would you please state your full name? Diane Gentleman. Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes, I do. Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you. Would you please stand, sir?
Sure thing.
Would you please state your full name?
Justin Zarnowski.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Good morning to both parties. I'm sorry, I didn't, would you mind repeating your names individually, please?
I'm Justin. This is Diane.
Okay, thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
We're dealing with item number 4, file number 24-564, roll number 120-978-09140, dealing with a 2025 realty assessment appeal. Parcel use code is vacant commercial, and this one is address 1090 Taylor Avenue. Mr. Deitchen, bear with us, please. Okay. Mr. Deitchen, when you're ready, please.
Okay, file number 24-564, roll number 12097809140. This is 2025 roll year. Assessed value is $1,471,000. It is a vacant commercial piece of land. It is zone C3, and the area is 37,850 square feet. Scrolling down to page 2 is just the breakdown of the land valuation. Again, it's 37,850 at a square foot rate of 38.86. Page 3 is some overhead views of the property. So you can see it's just off of Taylor. Page 2 is actually on page 3, the second picture is actually a building that is going up right now. Page 4 is just the zoning overhead view showing that it is C3 and the description of that. Page 5 is the land sale comparables. So you can see there's some C2s and C3s in there, and it ranges from 52.44 to 123.87. So we sit well below that range. Continuing on is the photos of the comparables on page 6, all the way to page 17, where there is the permit for the new building. And from my understanding, this is already built and I believe occupied. I could be corrected. So I believe this 25 appeal will be superseded by a supplementary, but I can't confirm that right now. And that is my evidence. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Deitchen. So just to confirm, you're stating for the record that there is building improvements developed on the property. And I guess we'll confirm with the applicants, but
Mhm.
in your opinion, there'll be a supplementary assessment on its way reflecting the improvements on the vacant commercial land.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. To the applicants, good morning. Any questions of the assessor's evidence presented?
We do. So just looking at page 5, you've got your land sale comparables. And as we go through them, I think everyone other than comp 1 is either an apartment building that's about to start construction, is under construction, or has completed construction. That's fair to say?
I'm not too sure.
Wouldn't that be the type of thing you'd check?
What it's being built on it right now?
Yeah.
Well, we're just looking at the vacant land, correct?
So you don't think that the opportunity to immediately develop an apartment impacts the fair market value of the site?
Okay, to the applicant, I'm going to say the assessor's answered that he does not know.
Oh, but my question is, if you could immediately put an apartment on a site, that would probably increase its value, right?
Hypothetically, I guess.
Well, versus one that doesn't have that immediate opportunity, which one would be worth more?
I mean, like you were just talking hypothetically, I'm not too sure.
Well, let's not talk hypothetically then. At 65 Kirkbridge, if you weren't able to, if you had bought it and you didn't think you could build an apartment, or if you bought it and you did, which one would be worth more?
The one that I guess the one that you could build on.
Okay, and not to belabor the point, but the same would probably be true of comps 3 to 6.
Potentially. I'm not too sure.
So how did you select those particular vacant land sales then, if it wasn't on the basis of impending apartments being built on them?
I looked for larger size vacant pieces of land that are commercially zoned,
Oh, and that commercial zoning is important.
correct?
Okay, and would you think a site that can accommodate an apartment or a site that has to be developed for retail, which one would have a higher value typically?
I'm not too sure. I'm not a developer.
Other than the first sale, would you say these properties are all at least half the size of, or half the size or less than the subject?
I'd say close. I mean, comp 5 is a bit bigger, but
Sorry, comps.
sorry, comp 5 is a bit bigger than half the size, but yeah, they're about that, I would say.
And does that affect the per square foot value?
Um, Not that I know of.
Generally, is that an economy of scale where larger pieces, sell for lower per square foot rates and smaller sell for higher? Is that a fairly common industry known fact? In most cases, not every case.
It could be, but like I said before, it's hard to quantify that and say how much it could affect it one way or the other.
Do you think that these smaller sizes sold for more because they could build apartments on them?
Again, I'm not too sure.
Would you say that the access of these properties are all excellent, facing right on main streets? Access and visibility and
They all have decent access, yes. I don't know about excellent, but yeah.
Some are on corners. Some of your comps are on corners.
Mhm.
Excellent access and visibility.
Sorry, was that a question? I missed it, sorry.
Just confirming that some of yours are on, can you confirm some of them are on corners and with excellent access and visibility?
Yeah, some are on corners.
And so, I think, you'd seen our brief, we talked about this before. You're aware that there's easements on the site, that we're talking about, the subject site?
Sorry, can you say it again?
Are you aware that there's hydro easements for transmission towers on this site?
Not that I know of.
Okay, and did you inquire with the water and waste department as to whether there's any sewage capacity or servicing issues with the site?
No,
And so it's fair to say you wouldn't have factored in either the consequences of an easement or any sort of servicing challenges in
I
your
mean, none of
evaluation?
this is in my brief, so I'm not too sure, like, is this coming from yours? Like,
Well,
'cause-
so, but we're talking about how you arrived at your valuation, right? So
On the
if-
subject.
Yeah, on the subject property. So to the extent, if you didn't factor in physical characteristics of the site, it's relevant to that valuation. So I think your answer is yes, although it'd be nice to get it. So you didn't factor in the consequences of easements on this value.
You know what I'm going to say, excuse me, I'm going to say that perhaps the applicant can deal with these concerns when in their presentation. The assessor has presented 4 comparables. Has stated that he's not aware of any of the influences that you're referring to, I believe, in your brief. So there's no point in asking him any further questions on this. You can deal with it in your presentation.
So it's not a matter of getting the facts forward, it's making sure that we have the confirmation from them that this wasn't taken into account. So
He said no.
Oh,
He said no, and asked and answered, okay? So please proceed with questions on his information presented only.
yeah, so the last question I have then, you've got a range of comps from 52 to 123 feet.
Correct.
The dollars a foot, right? And then the valuation you use for this subject is 38.86.
that is correct.
So fair to say you don't actually think your values are comparable?
I mean, these are just to show different value, properties, that are similar in size. I mean, they're not necessarily in the same area because it's tough to find large pieces, so the square foot rate could vary. It's just to show that we're not way out on our value.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I have any more questions.
Thank you.
I think thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Nesbitt, any questions on the assessor's evidence presented?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stephenson, any questions? You're on mute, sorry.
Sorry about that. One question.
Mhm.
So you just commented that you gave it a reasonable value compared to the comparables you've chosen. Did you consider that your comparables were smaller in size and that's why you kind of gave it a lower value, or?
I mean, I didn't give the value to this property, like it's done by our model, just to clarify that. But these are just to support it. Yeah, again, like they are smaller, so maybe they do have a higher square foot rate, but that could be why. But again, like I said, they're not necessarily in the same area, so they could vary in square foot because of that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stephenson. Mr. Deitchen, I'm going to look at page 3, please.
Mhm.
You stated that first of all, where is this located? On Taylor Avenue? Do you
Yeah.
know precisely where it is?
I'd have to double. Sorry, one second. Uh, 'Cause, 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 Right, so it's on Taylor Avenue, close to like pretty close to Waverly.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the top picture showing the vacant lot, it's behind another building. Would you know what that building is? Just,
The one, sorry, the one on, like closer to Taylor?
yeah, the developed one to the north of the subject property.
I think it's a bank.
Okay,
I can't say for certainty, but I believe it's a bank.
can the applicants clarify that, please?
It's a Scotiabank, like a standalone Scotiabank.
Okay, okay. And would I be right to say that's a Walmart parking lot with all the cars just to the right of it?
Yeah, Kitty Corner across the roundabout, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Got it. I think we all have got a picture now. Okay, so then the lower picture on page 3 showing a building that has been is under construction, possibly occupied, but you're not sure. But so that vacant lot has been improved, but not assessed for. The improvement's not assessed for yet?
Correct.
Okay. All right. And you stated that there's building permits, I think you've included in your brief that show that there was development to occur,
Yep.
but they have not been assessed for yet. When an assessor does a permit canvas, they will go visit property and issue a supplementary assessment reflecting an improved value on the property. Is that right?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. All right.
And just for the sake of the record, I mean, the building permit and those photos are obviously post-reference.
But we look at the physical,
But they
So
do,
just for, I understand the existing physical characteristic, but to the extent that, you know, we're talking about April 1, 2023. It was a piece of dirt.
yes, but it's the current physical condition.
I understand,
Yeah,
just.
so that's what we're doing.
We're aware, that, like, we're talking about the vacant land, right?
We are. And that value will stay in place until a supplementary assessment is issued on the improvements on the property. Do you understand that to the applicant?
Yeah, they can take their time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right. So on page, I'm sorry, I'm scrolling back and forth here.
okay.
So page 5 are your comparables of vacant land that occurred in 2021, 2019, and 2020. Subject property is 37,850 square feet. Okay. All right. So median 65.42. You're assessing this one at $38.86 a square foot, reflecting the vacant land only. All right. Okay. I think that's all my questions. All right. So to the applicants, bear with us while we pull up the, excuse me, your brief.
The thing,
And all right.
it's only, yeah, if you are, then, well.
Actually, I do have one more question of the assessor.
Yep.
Do you have any records of anybody visiting the assessor visiting this property during construction?
Oh, sorry.
During construction, like?
Oh, no, not that I saw. No.
Okay, so so nobody's been out to report on the progress of the building or anything?
I don't believe so, no.
All right, okay, sorry. I apologize for cutting the applicant off. Okay, that's it. Does everybody have the applicant's brief? Okay. For the applicants, when you're ready, please.
Thank you. Page 1 of the brief has a small property description. The property under appeal is vacant land at the rear of the development on Taylor Avenue. Property has significant impairments due to hydro easements and sewer capacity. The lot is 0.87 acres. However, when developing between the easements and buildable portion, the buildable portion is much less. So if you have a lot size, well, in this case, I guess I can use square feet, it's been done earlier. It's 37,000 square feet, but if you can't build on top of a certain easement, or you can only park on a portion of the land that reduces the size, you can actually build on a lot size. So this one, as we said, has significant impairment due to the hydro easements and overhead transmission lines. So that makes the land not as usable.
And worth less. So the other thing easements do, so and these aren't, you know, poles just providing power to houses. These are the transmission lines that serve most of Southwest Winnipeg and into Southwest Manitoba. So these are the giant lattice towers. They've been replacing some with tubes, but they're, you know, high voltage lines. And so one of the issues we've also run into building this, it's a 6,000 square foot retail building, is that even building near the easement requires us to spend more money on piles, and we're not able to stage in the same way. So all of those extra costs to build are costs that aren't incurred at other vacant land when they're purchased. And so if you're thinking about it from a fair market value perspective, every extra dollar we have to spend on a pile really is a dollar less that land is worth than you would have to spend on a similar building without those impairments. And so it is a very meaningful, not only in terms of the lost land, but in terms of us being able to what we can build there and how we have to build it.
If we go to page 2 and page 3, you can see a little bit easier where the easements are. They're the lighter grade, sort of L-shaped, hockey stick kind of shape that runs east and west and a little bit north-south. And you see it butts right up to the vacant land that's in question. And then similarly, there's the light gray portion along Taylor Avenue at the bottom of the site plan. And it also goes up kind of in a hockey stick shape as well.
The other impairment that we have at this site is we've been having a ongoing discussion with the Water and Waste Department at the City of Winnipeg. Elsewhere on this site, we built 2 124 unit apartment buildings. When we got the second one approved, the city said to us, you're not going to get any more what they would call sewage capacity, so we're not allowed to hook up any more toilets into the system. I was able to sweet talk them into a couple more toilets for this 6,000 square foot building, but they wouldn't have let us build an apartment building here. So part of the dissonance between the value of this property and the assessor's comps is that you couldn't put an apartment here. It's not a shovel-ready apartment site. Despite the zoning, the city barely was willing. So we've got Firehouse Subs is taking 2 of the 5 units. We're likely going to end up doing an office use in 2 more, and one of them is vacant. But you're talking about 10 toilets and not an apartment building. And even then, the city was pretty reluctant and made us jump through an awful lot of hoops to get there. So part of the issue with this site, especially as bare land, is you really are constrained by this being a combined sewer district and the city being very reluctant to allow you to hook in any additional wastewater sewer into the existing system.
That again is explained basically on page 4, but Justin did a great job of explaining it a little bit better. So basically what this does is it lowers the return on the land and lowers the value of the land. Sale comparables at the bottom of page 4, 6 are again vacant land. 6474 Sturgeon is at Centerport Road. And sold for, again, I have this in acres, $4.67 per square foot is what that calculates out to. 25 Forester sold for $7.08. This is it became a McDonald's, just, you know, a block off Narren, Forester, and above it Narren, it became a McDonald's. 725 Black Diamond became new industrial. It was $4.87 per square foot, and 365 Center Street in Bridgewater became new retail, and it was $15.48 a square foot. I've calculated those out. I mean, you're welcome to do it yourself, but those are the right numbers. Page 5 shows the land at Sturgeon, and it butts up to Center Point Road. Not shown in this picture, but it does. And the McDonald's at King McDonald's and Narrington Forester. 725 Black Bear Drive became industrial, and these parcels are all able to be fully developed with no easements and restrictions like the subject. And these stripes, Center Street again became strip retail again. The restrictions, this is a giant retail development that was easy for these developers to do. The market value of the subject property at April 1, 2023 is arguably zero, however it exists, and therefore would be in the $200,000 to $300,000 per acre range, which I'll just speak it out in square feet for everybody. So it's about $459 per square foot to $689 per square foot. This value would include the portion of the 37,000 square feet, which has easement affecting it. And the total market value for this would be in the range of $172,780 for the site to $260,670. The value of this land is undeveloped, has not changed since 2023. That's all. Thank you. Basically, it's sitting vacant. Sorry, one more thing. It's vacant land at the time, and it's going to get a sub when the commercial portion is added. So.
Okay. Okay. Anything else that either applicant would like to add
No,
at this time? Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. Mr. Deitchen, any questions of the applicant's presentation?
A couple. Looking at page 4, your comparables, are any of them commercially zoned sales?
Likely the last one was. I don't have that.
It looks like comparable 1's A1, comparable 2's M2, comparable 3's M3, and comp 4's MMU, mixed multi-use. Does that sound correct?
You know what? I don't know them.
You're not too sure. Okay. Are you aware of the developmental differences between different zonings, such as A1, M2, compared to commercially zoned?
yeah, well, I mean, the benefit of us doing retail here is you'd be able to do that in M2 and in MMU, so I think those are still strong comparables.
Could you do that on an A1 property?
No, without a rezoning.
Okay. Are any of your comparables close to any large shopping nodes, such as the subject property?
It's a Trad Center Street.
Yeah, Bridgewater's got the save on the big new development there, all the new retail, right?
Okay, so just that one though, not the others?
Foster's at Narren, which is all retail, basically.
Yeah, I guess the Regent and Lagimodier retail node as well.
Foster's, you said?
Yeah,
Yeah.
25 Foster. It has a McDonald's on it now.
Okay. That's all my questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Deitchen. Mr. Stephenson, any questions of the applicant?
No questions at this time, actually.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Nesbitt, any questions of the applicants?
Yes, I just have a couple for clarification, please. This relates to your comps on page 4. So I was scribbling furiously, but missed numbers. Could you give me the size of your comps in square feet and the rate per square feet, just so I'm looking at apples to apples.
Sure, that will just take me a second.
All right.
I didn't do the second one. I didn't do the second one yet.
Oh, well.
Okay, the first one is 178,596 square feet.
Yep.
The second one is 119,790. I wrote that right. This third one is 139,392 square feet. And the last one is 324,260 square feet.
Okay, and then the rate per square foot for those?
Just starting from the top and going down, 4.67, 7.08, 4.87, 15.48.
Okay, so I had half of the numbers, but not all of them. So they're all quite a bit bigger than your yeah. And to the point you made earlier about economies of scale,
That's right.
how does that affect your comps?
Right, ours are, these ones are much bigger, yes. So that would
Yeah.
affect value.
Right. And then your rate of I'm just pulling a number from your presentation of the 260,000 you're proposing at a top end for the value of your property. And does that work out to 687 square feet?
Yeah, 688, I think, or 687, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I mean,
All right.
again, that would be the effects of all the issues with this site.
So I think you noted that none of your comps have the same impairments.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Ms. Nesbitt. All right, my first question is, can the applicant please confirm what value they're requesting the assessment be revised to?
One number?
Yes? For the record.
Yeah, 261,000.
251?
261,000.
Okay, thank you.
That was the value, just so you know, in the farmer's.
Okay, thank you. So your main concerns have been the impact of the hydro easements and the sewage, lack of sewage service that hinders the development, sewage capacity on the lot.
Yes.
Okay. Now currently, I guess I would assume Syndico never sold a lot to somebody. You are involved in the development of that commercial building that's nearly complete on the vacant lot. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's us. Yeah.
Okay. So the lot was not sold. It was a combination, like it was a build for a tenant. Is that right?
Well, so we built it on spec, meaning we started the design and build before we had tenants for it.
Okay.
And subsequently, the Firehouse Subs is new to Winnipeg, but they did one at Seasons, one on Regent, and so this will be their third location. But we didn't build it for them. They came after we had designed and started construction.
Okay. Okay. So it's a commercial building. So if your argument is that the easement of hydro and sewage did completely hamper development of that lot, how do you reconcile that you've developed the building on the property?
Well, so like we said, like we're not saying it's not worth anything. But so when we go to develop something, what we do is we do a financial analysis, right? We say the building will cost this much, the, commissions will cost this much. If I would have put the land in at the assessor's number, 1.4 million, then I would have walked to Sandy Shittleman, the principal's office, and he would have said, you're not building that building, that's not a good enough return. So what we did is we put the land in actually at zero, and generated enough of return to do it. The reason we did that is because, we've got other things happening on the site. We want to provide services to our apartments. So our internal valuation, I mean, this is under oath, this is what we did, was that this property, if we treat it as zero, then it makes sense to build. If you were buying this on the market with a view to spending the amount of money we did on that building, you would lose money.
Okay. So hence the request for that the assessment shouldn't be changed from the last reassessment value.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. That is my only question or my final question. Mr. Deitchen, any requirement for summary?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. The applicants, any requirement for summary?
So we did bring some rebuttal, just briefly, I think, I don't know how we distribute this in this context.
No, I sent it.
Oh,
I sent it in.
take a short
Okay,
recess.
I wasn't.
This,
I was
Mr.
not.
Chair, please take a short recess to distribute the rebuttal evidence.
doesn't it have to be within 24 hours?
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. I would have brought that up as soon as Mr. Deitchen had presented, if I was aware of it. But I guess since you presented it, we will deal with it. But again, the secretary has requested a recess to distribute this to the panel members. So we'll recess for as long as required, okay?
I actually did send it in yesterday.
Thank you. I will now call the hearing back to order. We're dealing with still on item number 4, 1090 Taylor Avenue, and we're about to hear rebuttal evidence by the applicant. And we've all got that rebuttal in front of us. So when you're ready, please proceed.
So the rebuttal is pretty straightforward. We just wanted to show, so each page is a picture of either a proposed or a recent Google map picture of each of the appraisers' comps in order. And so, as we were looking through them, we noted each of them, other than the new co-op next to the farmer's market in St. Norbert's, is either a proposed high density apartment or multifamily that is under construction or has already been completed. So we just wanted, for the record to show these weren't just, random pieces of vacant land, but these were sites that were imminently or, already developed. So to our mind, that impacts the value of these sites because they would be what you call shovel ready, very little risk.
Okay. Mr. Deitchen, any questions on the rebuttal?
The one on 65 Kirkbridge, is that one built or is that still pending construction?
The Thorwin one next to Smitty's, so that one, I mean, I haven't driven by recently, that one's proposed.
Okay, so it looks like it's been proposed for a few years now, so it's had some issues, I guess. Correct?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, I'm just looking at May 21 and we're in 24, so it's been a few years. Okay. I mean, that's all my questions.
Thank you, Mr. Deitchen. Ms. Nesbitt, any questions of the applicant's rebuttal?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stephenson, any questions of the rebuttal?
No questions on the rebuttal.
Thank you. And I have no questions either. Okay. Mr. Deitchen, did we do a summary for you? No. Do you have a summary required?
I don't think so, no.
Thank you. To the applicants, any requirement for summary?
I think you heard from us enough on this one.
Okay. Thank you. That concludes, excuse me, item number 4, file number 24-564. Next item on the docket is item number 5, file number 24-557, roll number 12-0978-09140. No, wrong one. Item number 5, I'm sorry, file number 24557, roll number 12-0978-09130. We're dealing with a 2025 realty assessment appeal, and it's vacant commercial land. And Mr. Deitchen, bear with us 1 second, please. And is there any rebuttal being entered for this property at all?
Yes.
For the applicant, yes.
Okay, and we will have that available right now, or?
I can send it to everybody. Just give me a couple of minutes, please.
Okay, okay. In the meantime, we shall proceed.
Mr. Chair, I've emailed the rebuttal to Mr. Assessor, and I have placed the rebuttal evidence in the panel members folder for all of you to retrieve.
Okay,
If you could please let me know if everybody has it.
okay, everybody's checking.
Is it a different name, or I see 564, but I don't seem to have 557 yet.
It should say 24-5.
Oh, I got it. I
Okay.
got it now.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
it's
just-
there.
I had a question regarding rebuttal. Doesn't it have to be in 24 hours in advance?
It was, I mean, by us.
It says August 13th on the rebuttal. That's today.
I sent it yesterday. I'm sure you did. It was sent.
Oh, okay.
So just to confirm Mr. Deitchen's question, Mrs. Harland is confirming it was sent yesterday, and also the applicant is saying that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Mr. Deitchen, you're fine with that?
No, that's fine.
Perfect. And everybody got the rebuttal then?
I got it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Mr. Deitchen, when you're ready, file number 24-557, item 5 on the docket, please.
Okay. Yeah, it's file number 24-557. Roll number is 12097809130. And this is a 2025 roll year. Assessed value is at $10,642,000. It is a vacant commercial piece of land. It is zoned C3. The land area is 488,762 square feet. On page 2, again, is the land valuation breakdown. So yeah, the land value is 488,762 at a rate of 2177 a square foot. Continuing on to page 3 is the subject property photos. Again, it's just off of Taylor. Continuing on to page 4 is the zoning overhead view showing that it is C3 and the description of the C3 property. Page 5 is my land sale comparables. So they range from $27 to $35.06 with a median of $28.43. And again, I tried, because this one is a very large piece of land, I tried to find larger pieces of land, comparables. And then continuing on to page 6 is my pictures of the land sale comparables. And those go all the way to page 14. Page 15. Sorry, just bear with me. All right. Page 15 is just a little brochure that I found of the lands in this area, the Grand Park Pavilions, I guess they're called. And then if you scroll to page 17, it's kind of a blown up view of the area that we're looking at. You can see the Walmart on the left, and then I guess proposed multifamily, retail, gathering place, and such that is planned for this area. Then continue on to page 20. There is some just information of this area. That's exceptional location close to downtown, 8-minute drive to downtown. Grand Park Pavilions offers amenities of an urban office with all conveniences of a suburban location. And then it just talks about the area and some of the benefits of the location. And then page 22 and 23 is just the Municipal Assessment Act excerpts, and that is my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deitchen. Do the applicants have any questions on the evidence presented by the assessor?
So just to be brief on the 2 points we had last time, I mean, your valuation didn't factor in easements or wastewater capacity.
Not that I know of. I'm not sure.
Okay, and what about proximity to the rail line? Are you aware if that was
I
factored
believe
in?
there are influences on for our land properties of railways.
Okay. So going through the comps, I mean, you've got an August 2013 sale at 865 St. James. That would have been to Target, right?
Sorry, say that again?
That was the sale to Target at the old stadium site?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
And then comp 3 doesn't have an address, but putting, you know, my magnifying glass on, it looks like that's westbound of Winnipeg, Portage Avenue at Festival Drive.
I believe so.
Any idea who bought it?
I would have to look that up. I'm not too sure.
If I told you it was Ironclad Properties, would that ring a bell?
Nope.
Okay. And the Northtown Road, that site, has there been any development there that you're aware of?
Sorry, say that again? Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Your comparable 4, you have a sale from 2019. Has that subsequently been developed?
I'm not too sure.
And then comparable 5 through 50 or 1555 Lagimodier, that's the Hyundai dealership on Lagimodier, right?
It is now.
Yeah, and so that was the land sale to the Focus Hyundai group. Or to call it Hyundai, whatever.
Yeah, it's now a dealership. Yeah.
Okay. And so page 15, you've got our brochure for 990 Taylor. Are you aware where this building is?
I'm assuming at 990 Taylor.
Yeah, and so that's not on the subject parcel though, right?
No.
Okay. And so you then on page 17, you have a lower resolution blow up of our site plan. Just on the right there, it says something like gathering place.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Okay, and it's got a bunch of parking.
Yep.
It doesn't look like there's any buildings though, right?
I mean, no, maybe that's for the multifamily building. I'm not too sure.
Well, I mean, it says multifamily over a building on the left. I'm talking about the right side of that. It looks like parking and something that says gathering place.
That's what it looks like to me, yes.
Okay. I don't think I have any other questions.
I just have a couple questions about the age of some of your comparables.
hmm
2013, 10 years prior to the reference date. Is that comparable?
I would say it's still comparable. I mean, if I time adjusted that sale, then it would be even higher.
But do you know the circumstances back in 2013 of that sale?
I'm not too sure. I didn't purchase the property.
Yeah, I think we're good.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh, no further questions.
Oh, okay, thank you. All right. Ms. Nesbitt, any questions of the assessor?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stephenson?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. And I have no questions either. Then we will deal with the, excuse me, the rebuttal presented by the applicants. Just bear with us 1 second while we pull that up, please. Does everybody have it? Okay, please proceed with your rebuttal, please.
And so same kind of thesis as before. The idea here, we've got pictures of comparable, I think. 2, 4, sorry, 2, 3, and 4. With a view to showing these land sales happen almost immediately after you get an Audi dealership, a commercial development at the Bridgewater, and then the Hyundai dealership. And then, I mean, from the 2013 one, Target did, I mean, for a couple of months operate a Target out of there, but they did build a Target building immediately after buying that parcel as well. So these are all like immediately available development sites.
They're also highly desirable retail areas as well. At the time Seasons was being developed, and it was to get a site by Seasons was very important to a lot of retail operators. Similarly with the Bridgewater development, all very highly desirable area.
And Hyundai at Region and Lodge is one of the biggest retail nodes.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope, that's our rebuttal.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Deitchen, any questions on the rebuttal?
I guess, wouldn't you agree that this Grant Park area is a highly desirable area and a large shopping node as well?
Yeah, for retailers, certainly is.
Right. And the pictures you posted, it kind of shows the versatility of commercial land and kind of what things can be built, correct?
If the city would let us, we can build beautiful things.
I'm just talking about what we're looking at right now. Okay, that's all my questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Deitchen. Mr. Stephenson, any questions on the rebuttal?
No questions, thank you.
Ms. Nesbitt?
No questions.
And I have no questions either. Okay, to the applicants, bear with us while we pull up your brief, please. Okay, does everybody have the brief up? Okay, when you're ready, please.
Thank you. This land is part of the same area we've all been discussing already. I won't spend too much time on the impairments, other than it's the same. It's the hydro towers, the easements, and that reduces the size of the land that we can build. This land on the west side is 11.2 acres.
Yeah, and just to play the greatest hits for the 1 second, I mean, it has the same sewer capacity issues. It's part of the same servicing plan. It's still in a combined sewer district, so we'll run into the same, and we have run into the same issues with the city. And then here, this actually has even more easement, almost the entire west, maybe half to or a third of this parcel. And the reason why on our site plan, we showed it as a gathering place is even south of this, we've had trouble getting Hydro to let us do a dog park. So, you know, a 6-foot fence. So putting a building in the easement is totally out of the question. And this ends up really impacting the site because it's such a large area that having parking that's a 5-minute walk from a retailer doesn't do us a whole lot of good.
So on page 2 and 3, you can see the easement is, like Justin said, it is very large portion of this subject property that's in question. It's the grayish area under the yellow. And we can't do anything on that other than possibly parking and the gathering site.
And then compounding that from the Scotiabank, the South Scotiabank site we talked about, this is also adjacent to the rail corridor. So this is the CN main line. As part of the, you know, there's been, I think, a little bit more recognition of rail safety. And so one of the issues that we run into developing the site at the back is that the city has been playing with the idea of having rail setbacks from property line, not from the rail tracks, not only for derailments, although that tends to be the big story, but just there's vibration and quality of life issues building things close to the rail tracks. So that impairs the back of the site, and you can see how it kind of gets squeezed smaller and smaller. So even though this is 11.2 acres in terms of buildable, we're going to get much less here.
On page 7, it notes that this rail line along Taylor is one of the busiest in Winnipeg. It's 40 to 50 trains per day. So it is significant hit this site. And then part of the way to mitigate that is developers are required to, you know, build fences and berms, and that's just additional cost to the development as well.
And just as you're looking at the site plan, you're thinking, how did that Walmart get built? These regulations around rail proximity actually came into place after we developed that Walmart. It was 2013, 2014. And so the Lake Megantic accident in whenever it was, 2016, 2017, was one of the big drivers around rail safety. So if we went back now and tried to get the Walmart built that close to the rail line, I'm pretty confident to say the city would force us to move it forward, do a berm, like a hill and a fence.
But more point on these sites now is the sewer capacity.
Yeah, and so this has the same, I mean, for us to get sewer capacity here has been a real challenge. I mean, Shindigo doesn't like sitting on land, we like building things, and this is one of the biggest fields we've got in our portfolio for that exact reason. We just can't get any sort of traction with the Water and Waste Department to allow development here.
This site doesn't, this particular lot does not allow for residential.
That's great.
And we'll see for that reason. On page 9 are some comparable properties. I've recalculated all of them by square foot. Would you like me to give all those numbers to you now? I think you're muted. Linda.
Yes, I personally would like that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the first one is 178,596 square feet. And the price per acre would be $4.67. Or per foot, I'm sorry. The next one is 139,392. And the price per foot is 4.87. And the next one is 300,564. And the price per foot is $4.99. The next one for 645 Black Diamond is 413,000 square feet, 820. And the price per foot is $5.10. The next one is 282,704. And the price per foot is $7.42. The 40 kennel bleak is 96,224 square feet. $15.59. And it looks like I missed the last one. The last one is 324,261 feet. 324,261, and the price is $15.49 per acre per foot, sorry.
And we'll put these in our briefs going forward.
Yeah. This is our first one.
No, thank you. Appreciate that.
So again, these sites were all ready to be developed. 6474 Sturgeon is not yet, but 725 Black Diamond, the next Black Diamond, and 645 are all developed with new, brand new industrial. Inkster and Brookside also brand new industrial. 40 Kennel Bleak was developed with multifamily, and 365 Bridgewater was developed with retail. So they were all able to be developed and have been developed except for the first one. Not sitting vacant.
Yeah, and the reality on comparables is if somebody owns land like we do here, it doesn't sell because why would you buy it knowing that you're gonna have to sit on it, fight with the city forever? And so where we're looking for land comparables, we're a real estate brokerage, that this type of land that the subject property really doesn't trade. And so, I mean, it makes our lives harder to sell, you know, the valuation with you guys, it makes it harder for you to decide, but the reality is people who own land that has very little development potential, you're stuck owning it for a long time and hoping you can kind of fix it long term. And that's where we're at with this site.
And it is sitting at the rear of this big property development. These comparables are all on corners and front streets and with excellent access. The next 3 pages just show the other format of where they are located. And
so, yeah, I guess just to anticipate the question at the end, you know, we'll put a range, I think you kind of read it to whatever the top of the range is what we're asking for. So here, I think we're saying you should value this land at 336,000. I'm sorry, 3,360,000.
And pages 14, 15, 16, 17 is just the evidence of the water, wastewater and sewer issues that we have. Figure out it's right, about to rate on these as well. $6.89.
Could I confirm $6.89?
Yes, per square foot value.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Okay. That completes your presentation.
It does.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Deitchen, any questions of the applicant's evidence?
A couple. I know you were talking about easements and the rail line influences, and you spoke about the Walmart and the strip mall. But there was a building constructed this year on 990 Taylor, correct? Just close to the railway.
So there's, well, it's not that close, but it's, so the 990 is an industrial building. Right? You got your picture of it in your evidence, but yeah, we built an industrial building adjacent to Walmart's, like east of this, or yeah, east of this site, east of the Walmart on that parcel.
Okay. So it doesn't completely hamper the construction possibilities.
Well, yeah, I mean, you gotta build from a setback. I mean, I'm not saying you can't build anything here. That's why we're saying it's still worth 3.3 million, but you gotta have a lot more setback, and that building's more setback from the rail than the Walmart is. And it had to be.
Are any comparables commercially zoned properties?
I would imagine 365 Center Street would have been.
I guess all my other questions kind of carry over from the last property. Yeah, no further questions.
Mr. Deitchen, for the record, you have to state them for this appeal. If you have any questions, please.
Sorry?
If you have any questions, we're not going to carry forward information.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Appeal, okay? So
Yeah, sorry about that.
it's okay.
I guess then 6474 Sturgeon is zoned A1, correct?
Sorry?
6474 Sturgeon Road is zoned A1, correct?
Yes.
And that limits the developmental potential.
Sorry, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that. It was what you said before in the last hearing, but
Okay, yeah, I'm just, yeah.
I don't know, I'm sorry.
Agricultural land doesn't have a ton of developmental potential, I guess, is my question.
It was located at Center Park, so I thought that.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost outside the city, yeah.
I mean,
Sure.
yeah, I mean, is it gonna be rezoned likely? Yeah, but.
Okay, I mean, no further questions.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Nesbitt, any questions of the applicants?
I do not have questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stephenson?
I have one question. The dates on the listed in the appendix talking about the sewer from 2021 on the 2 apartment buildings that were built in and around in that area.
Yeah.
And that's from plans submitted, from what I read, originally in 2014. Are they commenting on the existing sewer system that was there, or is it an upgraded plan for the sewers?
Well, I mean, how long do you have? So 2014 was when we did our servicing plan, and that's a requirement as part of our rezoning. So we did our rezoning to get the entire site entitled. What the city is saying is that concept plan is now your permanent limit on how much servicing you can possibly have ever. And they have no interest in changing it. In fact, they said, why don't you do a new servicing plan? We did a new servicing plan. They said, oh, this shows more flow. So that servicing plan, you can't do it. And so that when we say there's a restriction, the cap the city's putting on it is they're saying the concept plan we did in 2014 is a permanent maximum on our servicing forever. It's crazy. But that's.
So have sewer upgrades been initiated since then?
We paid $1 million, as part of that rezoning, we paid $1.5 million for that Coburn-Kilrossie pipe. Despite our magnanimous contribution to the infrastructure in the area, our permanent limit remains at that 2014 servicing plan.
Okay.
I understand. It is hard to believe that that's the case, but that is the case.
I guess I just want to clarify again. So it was submitted on the existing sewage. You're saying on a servicing plan. Did that include the upgrades?
It did, yeah. So that Coburn Karasi combined sewer separation, which
All
is,
along Taylor, all those sewage upgrades?
yeah, so that's all part of the same plan. They've been planning it for a long time.
Yeah.
It runs through our site. Like, they needed us to give them an easement. We paid a bunch of money for it.
And then you can't build any more multi-residential in this area because you've hit capacity?
Because, well, capacity is a funny way of putting it. Because our plan in 2014 showed a certain amount of flows, the city took the position that you can't increase the amount of outflow off of the site by any more than we showed in our concept in 2014.
Okay, so are you saying you can or can't build residential on the lot in question?
So our zoning entitlements actually here are a little bit funny. We can't build residential on this site, call it at the back. We have 3 zones. So zoning entitlements, we can't do residential anyway, but even if we could, the city would say we don't have capacity to service it for wastewater.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stephenson. To follow up on that question, so I believe you would be aware, and we're all aware of the improvements that have been going on Taylor for the last year and a half, shall we say? Are you saying that isn't improving your problem with the sewage flow?
So whenever the city does sewer relief projects in combined sewer districts, what they're trying to do is they're trying to lower the amount of discharge they have when there's a storm event into the river. So when they do this, it's not to help us build more, it's to help them mitigate the discharge into the river. So even though they are doing a bunch of work and we paid for some of it, it's not for our benefit. It's solely to reduce discharge to comply with their provincial requirements.
Okay. And again, following up on Mr. Stephenson's question, are you allowed to develop commercial properties on these lands? Not residential, but commercial?
So zoning entitlement, we're allowed to do commercial. We have to beg, borrow, and steal as much capacity as we can. Because they've said, and that's the email we included, you're at your capacity. You can't have any more. What you can do is you can try and pull a catch basin, like a rain collector off of the combined sewer district, and then whatever flow you take off of that, you can put into your wastewater, because ultimately it doesn't matter what hits the pipe, just how much. So we've been able to do some creative things and spent a bunch of money, but we're running out of catch basins that are hooked up to the wrong system. Like we're really running up against our development potential here.
Okay.
And it costs a bunch of money to do that, and the city has to say it's okay.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And I'm looking on page 3, and with your site map, the colored in yellow, is the subject property, is that right? That 11.2 acres?
Yes.
That's right, yeah.
And I'm colorblind, so the orange around it, that's, what is that detail?
So as part of making everybody's lives a little easier, we agreed with the city to combine some lots so that we don't have, there's 23 lots here. We didn't want to do 23 of these. So the orange is the actual lot lines. So that this is not one lot, it's like 8. But it's all kind of the same. So we thought this would just make everyone's life easier.
Okay, so the 11.2 runs up to well, shall we say the property line of the rail line, right?
That's right.
What is the current rules for setback? How many square feet are you allowed to? How much allowance do you have to provide for development?
So the city's done kind of a funny thing. There are rules by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, but the city hasn't actually adopted those. So in terms of like a fixed rule at our zoning, we don't have one. And so what ends up happening is it's a real kind of push and pull. How do you mitigate it? And it's so there isn't a fixed rule on what the setback is.
Okay, so for instance, would you agree that the 11.2 acres reflects accurate square footage of development potential?
No, so that is like the gross size, that's every corner of the property.
Okay,
So, what the Canadian Federation wants is 100 feet from rail right away. So that would be not the rail line, but from where the rail property ends. And then we've also got easements there. So this site ends up getting squeezed on 3 or 4 sides. And I mean, might we be able to argue with the city to say it should be less than 30? 30 meters, 100 feet, maybe. But even without that, a third of this site is easement. And so on the north and west sides, we've got impairment too. So the gross developable on this is probably something closer to like 7 acres.
okay.
And that's assuming we can figure out the rail.
Yeah, okay, so my last question related to this is the restrictions are relevant only to improvements. For instance, the building can't be right up to the railway, but for instance, can parking behind it be allowed?
Yeah, I mean, to the extent you have to do a berm, the general rule of thumb is for every foot of berm you need 2 feet of space on the side. So if you have to put a berm up, you lose some parking because nobody can park on a slant. But if you're putting, so you need some sort of setback just for that, but yeah, you can definitely put some parking and things like that in the back.
Okay, so it's usable land, but not building improvement land.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's okay, thank you. And I was looking at the comps that you provided, and I think we determined that they were all I believe Ms. Schindelman stated they were within Centerport, some of them, and that they were agricultural land sales for potential maybe Centerport development. Is that right?
So Black Diamond is St. Boniface Industrial, like Plessy's and Dugald.
Oh,
and then
okay.
West.
Okay.
So each of those is Camel Cis, and that kind of, they call it St. Boniface Industrial, but I'd call it Transcona. Inkster and Brookside is close to Centerport. And then the other two, the last two are Bridgewater. Only Sturgeon is really, and Inkster and Brookside are Centerport.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I think that's all my questions. Mr. Deitchen, any requirement for a summary?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Applicants, any requirement for summary?
No, I think we have one more on this site, so you hear from us again, so we're good.
Yeah, okay. Okay, that concludes file number 24-557. Next item on the docket is item number 6, file number 24-496, roll number 0306591900. We're dealing with a 2025 vacant commercial property realty assessment. And Mr. Deitchen, allow us to get to that appeal, please. Does everybody have the brief? Okay. Mr. Stephenson, are you ready? Okay. Mr. Deitchen, when you're ready, please.
Okay. File number 24496. The rule number 030659190000. Roll years 2025. Assessed value $521,000. It is a vacant commercial land, zone C2, and the land area is 9,462 square feet. Again, on page 2 is the breakdown of the land valuation. It is 9,462 at a square foot rate of $54.11. Brings the value to $512,000. Page 3 is the subject property photos, just the overhead view of the lot. And continue on to page 4. Again, is the overhead view of the zoning. And it is C2, and there's a description of the C2 zoning. Page 5 is the land sale comparables. As you can see, it ranges from 53.58 to 199. So we fall like right near the bottom of that range. And I pulled C2 properties because it's C2 zone, just to compare them to other C2 properties. Starting on page 6, these are the land sale comparable photos. And that runs all the way to the end of page 17. And that is my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deitchen. Do the applicants have any questions of the assessor's evidence presented?
We do. So looking at the land comparables, I mean, there's a lot of repetition here, but just for this record, other than Kirkbridge, which has, I think, proposed residential, correct?
I believe so.
And then the other comps 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all multifamily sites of various levels of construction.
I'm not too sure.
But you're not you're saying though, you're not aware, but if I told you that each of them had apartment buildings of various sizes on them, you wouldn't disagree. You wouldn't have a grounds to disagree.
I would not be able to disagree or agree.
And so your evidence here says this is vacant commercial, right?
Correct.
But it's actually not vacant commercial, right? It's a parking lot.
I mean, it's vacant commercial, but you could park on vacant commercial.
Okay, so the typical valuation for a suburban parking lot would be that it's treated as vacant?
Sorry, say the question again?
So your typical valuation for a parking lot would be treating it as vacant land?
If we received income and expense mailers and had income to use, and it was generating income, then we could use value it on income.
Okay, and in your experience, would a vacant land site or a site valued on income, which would be higher?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
If you're valuing a parking lot as vacant land or you're valuing it based on income, which would typically generate a higher value?
I'm honestly not too sure.
Okay. So yeah, I don't think we have any other questions. We do have our same set style of rebuttal on this one. Just, but I guess you guys have your questions first. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Mr. Chair, I'll just send the rebuttal now.
Okay. But we're going to have our panel ask questions first on the assessor's evidence. Mr. Stephenson, any questions of the assessor's evidence presented?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Nesbitt?
Yeah, I just have a question about location. So I'm trying to find a street name and I do see one on page 3, Manahan Avenue. Where is Manahan Avenue? I'm not familiar with that one.
Sorry, I should have had this one up ready to go. Just give me one quick second. Oh yeah, so it's just off of Pembina Highway, near Chevier Boulevard.
So is the frontage where? On Manahan?
It's on, yeah, it would be on Manahan.
Okay. So in terms of, I'm just looking at your comps then. In terms of your comps, would you consider that an inferior location compared to where your comps are? I don't know what the street volumes are on Manahan. Like, would it be the same as like a St. Mary's Road?
I mean, I'm honestly not too sure. Like, it's close to Pembina Highway. Like, it's almost on the corner, so it's close to Pembina. But I can't really speak to traffic volume on Manahan.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to get a sense of how
Yeah.
busy it is.
Yeah,
Would you be able to see this from Pembina Highway?
I believe so. I believe so. Like looking at, sorry, going back to my.
Sorry, like I just couldn't see from your maps exactly
Yeah, like-
a relationship.
Like Pembina is just on the right there, like the street. So like it looks like you could see it from Pembina, but like the
So if
access is just off of Manahan.
I'm looking at your zoning map at the bottom of page 4,
Okay,
and I see a white car on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
At least I think that's a car. Is
Yeah.
that Pembina Highway?
yeah, that's Pembina on the right side. Yeah,
Okay, so you'd have to turn onto Chevrier,
yeah. If you go to page,
off Chevrier, and there's Manahan that goes sort of in the same direction as Pembina.
if you go up to page 3, it's a bit easier to see on that picture.
Okay,
Slightly easier.
okay, so that's Pembina at the top there.
Yeah, on the right side.
Oh, on the right side.
Yep.
Oh,
Just
gotcha,
on the
gotcha.
top, yeah.
Okay, I see it there. So it's sort of tucked in behind a building, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay,
Behind that building there.
okay. All right, and you said you have no I&E mailers, so it wouldn't be possible for you to value this as a parking lot?
Correct.
Okay, it's an irregular shape. How developable would that be in your view?
I'm not too sure.
Okay. All right, thank you. No questions.
Thank you. Mr. Stephenson, any questions?
No questions.
Thank you. I'm not sure if you can answer this, Mr. Deitchen, but is that parking lot servicing that office building that's on Pembina Highway? Would you know that, or?
I believe so, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, and currently it's used for parking. It's got plugs and fence there, it looks like anyway. But it would allow for instance, 4 to 6 plex development on the property with that zoning, is that right?
I believe so.
Okay. And that you're aware the applicant has never applied for the use to be changed, like to be assessed as a parking lot?
Not that I know of.
Okay. All right. That's my only questions. Thank you. Now, do the applicants have rebuttal on the assessor's evidence?
Yes.
Okay, and Ms. Harlan, have we got that loaded?
Yes, you should have it.
Okay, just bear with us here. Refresh again. This would be for 496, right? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Does everybody have the rebuttal available?
Yes.
Mr. Deitchen, you're good?
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, got it.
Okay, all right. Can the applicant please proceed with the rebuttal?
So you'll recognize some of these comps, but it's sort of the same idea. We've got each of the comparables showing, a building other than comparable to on Kirkbridge showing that one's a proposed, but 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all on, corners or major streets that allowed for significant multifamily development. So to our mind, these really aren't comparable to a site that happens to be near Pembina Highway, but really is on Mahanan or Manahan. It's, none of these are tucked behind or near a major street. These are all on major streets, which is why they were developed with apartment buildings. But to our mind, they aren't comparable.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Deitchen, any questions of the rebuttal?
I guess just looking at these apartment buildings, is there anything preventing the subject property from constructing an apartment building?
So yes, it's not on a major street, so the type of density that you're entitled to on arterials is different than on residential streets like Manahan. beyond that, its irregular shape is a significant hurdle. It's used as accessory parking for the building on Pembina. And then lastly, unlike these streets, you're in a like Manahan's a residential street, right? So you've got a back lane on the back that services those single family homes. You've got a lane that services the Pembina, and then on the other side, you got a single family home, and then you've got a residential street. So this style of multifamily just wouldn't be possible on this site.
So no, it's not possible to build any sort of multifamily on this site?
I mean, I guess it depends on how angry the neighbors are. But you know, C2 zoning, it's a discretionary use, right? Conditional use to build any sort of multifamily, so you'd be dealing with the neighborhood, you know, the planning department. So in terms of like what you could build right now, I think it'd be a real challenge to develop this site.
Okay, no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Deitch. And Mr. Stephenson, any questions?
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Nesbitt?
No, no questions. Thank you.
And I have no questions either. To the applicants, we will pull up your brief right away. When you're ready, please.
Sorry, thank you. So this site is 9,453 square feet. And right now its only purpose and the only reason it exists is to support the parking for 1619 Pembina, which is the building in front of it. In order to lease 1619 Pembina, we needed that parking. And so that is what it's for. Parking there, the tenants pay $30 a stall per month per year. And it clearly doesn't cash flow, but it's needed in order to tenant 1619 Pembina. So this, I believe the mailers were sent in, and it did show the deficit loss on this property. I'm not sure why nobody has them, but we'll check into that. And but in order to do this as vacant land, we did find a few comps that are, you know, definitely not like parking lots, but I wasn't sure which way to go on this. So we have 800 Notre Dame on page 3, and it's 15,246 square feet. And the sale price was $54 a square foot. 3,086 Pembina is 161,172 square feet. And it sold for $40 a square foot, and 956 Notre Dame is 7,405 square feet. So I thought size was a little bit more comparable. And it sold for $18.58 a square foot. And these, excuse me, these are all on front streets, Notre Dame, Pembina, and Notre Dame. 3086 Pembina, it's a prime corner on Pembina at Dalhousie, and it was purchased by Shell. They originally leased the property, and then the owner was going to sell the property, and Shell, in order to maintain their location, had to buy a portion of this property. And so they were definitely motivated to buy 3086 Pembina, and so that's the reason for the high price. And 956 Notre Dame is zoned residential, and it has frontage on Notre Dame and Grinnell and Banning. So notwithstanding the size on the one is not comparable, the others are comparable in size and are superior properties.
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, the value of this property is reflected in the rent that we get at 1619 Pembina. Like if we weren't able to provide this parking there, we wouldn't be able to get the rents that we were there. So, you know, to try and assess this as if it wasn't that accessory parking lot almost ends up creating a double taxation on the part of, you know, this site. And so as we came to try and figure out what we thought it was worth, it was a real challenge because you really couldn't do much here. And to the panel member's question, the reason you haven't heard of Manahan is because you don't live on Manahan. It's a residential street in South Bend.
And just finally, you're requesting the value stay at $399,000. And for it, that's $42 a square foot. And again, it's not, that wouldn't be a low value by any means for that property.
Okay, anything else?
No, I think we're good.
All right, thank you. Mr. Deitchen, any questions of the applicant's evidence?
Yeah, just a few. Was there any mailers or any information in your brief to show where these values came from for the income?
Sorry, is there any mailers?
Or any other information to show where the income values came from, like the $30 a month and such?
No, not in our brief, no.
And was that pulled from an income and expense mailer, or is that, like, where did they come from exactly?
Well, it was actually a financial statement I ran at our office, and I believe, I can't say for sure, but I believe a mailer was sent in on this property with parking.
So we manage 1619 Pembina. That's how come we know.
Okay, I just know there wasn't for this one, but that's okay. I'll continue on. Are you aware comparable one is valued on income and is a surface parking lot?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I believe it's vacant land.
Sorry, just the comparable one is at $53.89 or about $54 a square foot and is much larger than the subject property, correct?
Yeah, it's 4 5 feet larger.
Okay. Would economies of scale take effect in that?
I mean, honestly, if this property was bigger, it might be worth more. Because you could develop on it. Right, I mean, the weird shape of it gets diminished by virtue of having a larger site. So I think this site would be better if it was bigger, be worth more.
Because you could do something like
That's
on.
Yeah, like the weird angles matter less on a bigger site, right? Because then you can just figure it out. On a smaller site, they become very restrictive.
Yeah, well, I'm not too sure about that, but comparable to is at sorry, $46 a square foot, correct?
Yes.
And this one's much larger. It's 100 and I think it's like 160,000 square feet.
Yes, it's much larger.
So then would economies of scale take effect in that?
Well,
It's a different site. It was a desired site by Shell. They were the tenant. They existed there already.
and they're selling the rest of it, right? Like
I'm just talking in general, because you guys spoke about economies of scale earlier. Generally, larger would sell for a lower square foot rate.
Yeah, but not usable sells for less too.
Okay, I'm just talking.
You know what I mean? Like I don't think you can. I don't think we're ready to say if this site was bigger, it'd be worth less.
Well, I mean, okay. Then comp 3 is at $49 a square foot in zoned multifamily, correct?
We've zoned residential. I don't know.
Oh yeah, okay, so yeah, it's multifamily residential. Okay. Yeah, no further question.
For clarification, could I ask, I didn't get the square footage selling price per square foot on the applicant's comparables. Mr. Deitchen, do you have them, or I didn't hear Ms. Schindelman clearly when she stated what they were.
Okay, so the first one is $54 a foot rounded,
Okay,
then $45 a foot,
okay,
and then the last one is $18.58.
okay, so 1850, okay. Thank you for that clarification, thank you. Mr. Deitchen, you are done. Ms. Nesbitt, any questions of the applicant?
No questions.
Thank you. Mr. Stephenson.
You know the dimension of the frontage on Manahan from the house to the back lane? How many feet? How many feet is that?
It comes to a point, not a point, but I mean.
Well, it's not a point. There's frontage on Manahan.
Yeah, but the size, I don't think we have it.
40 feet? 50 feet?
Compared to the house lots, it's probably like a house lot. So what are these? Are these 25 foot lots or 40 foot lots?
Yeah, I don't know what they are.
Because it's comparable to the house lot.
That'd be 50 feet probably.
That's a big house then.
Well, you can, I'm not gonna argue with you, but it'd be 50 feet if it's a house lot.
But yeah, sorry, we don't have a dimension site plan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. To the applicants, so I believe that you stated that the property owner is the commercial property on Pembina Highway, and this is their parking lot. Is that correct? They own both properties?
If it's not the exact same legal owners, they're certainly related. I mean, it might not be the exact same company that owns both,
Okay,
but yeah, we think of them as owned by the same people.
It's common.
Yeah, it's common, and whether, but I can't say exactly that Robidar Investments Limited owns both.
so you provided two approaches to value here. The income approach, are you relying on that at all?
There is no income.
Yeah, I mean, we're not saying it's worth nothing.
Okay, so would it be fair to say that the parking charge is not an accurate market value of a parking lot in that area? It's subsidized, shall we say, with the building on Pembina Highway?
$30 is actually
Probably market,
in the
yeah.
market.
Okay.
I
And
mean, let me just see if you can see on the assessor's page.
it's kind of irrelevant because you're not relying on that to come up with the value, so, yeah.
Yeah, you can see on the shape that it even doesn't house the parking that well.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're able to answer this question, but are you aware, or do you know if this property owner has asked for this to be assessed as an income producing property?
No, it wasn't discussed.
Okay, and do they declare this parking lot in their income and expense statement from, was it 1690 Pembina Highway? Is that the situation here?
You know, I have to check on this. That would have been mailed in by prior managers or prior owners, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
So don't blame us.
No. I'm just, often a commercial will include income from parking on a different roll number, for instance, which we've got here. But you're not sure who the roll number belongs to or is owned by, so on this parking lot. Okay. All right, I think that's all my questions. Mr. Deitchen, any requirement for summary?
Sorry, can I ask one more question?
Of course.
I just had a question regarding the value. It seems to be kind of a theme of all these values that are the same as the 2023 value. How did you come to this 399 value?
There's no reason for it. It hasn't gone up in value. There's no desire, no.
So are you saying land value hasn't increased over years?
I think where it's not buildable or really buildable,
Yeah, I mean, the reality is we struggled to find comparables. The income approach here generated a value that we didn't think was realistic. And so we were forced to take things that weren't comparable, make a, an adjustment kind of internally and said, we think that, if you said this was assessed at 399, that was something the owners could live with, and, just based on the information we have, it's a reasonable estimate.
Thanks.
Anything else, Mr. Deitchen?
Nope, that was all. Thanks.
Okay, and any requirement for summary?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Did the applicants have any requirement for summary?
Nice question, just let me summarize, so all good.
Okay, thank you. That concludes file number 24-496.
I have one last comment. The value at $399 is $42 a square foot, so.
Okay, thank you. $22, yeah, okay. All right, does anybody require a quick break? Are we okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, everybody good? Okay. Next item on the docket is item number 7, file number 24-556. Roll number 12-097-809-155. We're dealing with a 2025 Realty Assessment Appeal, vacant commercial property. And Mr. Deitchen. When you are ready, please.
This is file number 24556. Roll number is 12097809155. Roll years 2025. Assessed value is at $2,634,000. It's a vacant commercial property, zone C3. Land area is 488,718 square feet. Again, land valuation breakdown on page 2 shows that it's at $5.39 a square foot. Page 3 is the subject property photos. Just showing where it's located there. It's close to the Taylor properties we were speaking about before. It's kind of tucked in back there. Page 4 is the zoning breakdown, showing that it's C3 and the description of that. Page 5 again is my land sale comparables, showing the range of $27 to $35.06 a square foot with a median of $28.43. So we're way lower than that at $5.39 a square foot. Again, land sale comparable photos are on page 6 to page 14. And then page 15 again is the brochure of the Grant Park Pavilion. Just showing, sorry, and then page 16 is just showing actually a building that has been constructed and from my understanding has already been occupied. So from my understanding, this will be a sub for 2025 again. It's the Canada Food Inspection Agency, from my understanding, was built there. And you can see it's kind of right beside the Walmart, as I was speaking about before. And again, you can see it's relatively close to the railway, it looks like. Page 17 is just a blown up image of that. Not the easiest to see, but just kind of showing that again. And again, page 18 is just showing some information of this area and some of the benefits of it. Again, on page 20, just shows that it's a perfect location, a minute drive to downtown, and kind of some more information of the area and how exceptional it is, as it says. Continue on is on page 22 is the permits for this building. And page 23 to page 24, for showing all those different permits for the work that was done. And that is my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deitchen. Did the applicants have any questions of the assessor's evidence presented?
So we do, just we'll briefly touch on your comparables. So comparable one, your 2013 sale at St. James is the Target building. Correct?
Yep.
Sterling Lion is the Audi dealership that we had talked about earlier.
Yep.
The comparable 3 is the land sale at West Portage and Festival Drive.
Yep.
The 355 Northtown Road was the development in Bridgewater.
Yeah.
And then 1555 Lagimodier is the Hyundai dealership near
Yep.
Ridge and Lash.
Yep.
Okay, and so you had mentioned the building and the brochure there, and I mean, we could certainly talk to it. But when you say it's reasonably close to the rail line, if you go to your page 16,
Mhm.
you can see there's parking on the south side, so that'd be the right of this plan.
What page are we looking at, sorry?
16, so it says
The
the
expanded.
expanded, yeah, where it says Canada.
Mm-hmm.
At the bottom.
Yeah, at the bottom to the right of that, there's parking.
Mhm.
And then a drive aisle.
Mhm.
And then a compound area.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Okay. And then you can also see it says 25.5 to 21,000 square feet shown there. That would typically mean it's still available, right?
I'm not too sure what that means.
Okay, but you said you thought the whole building was occupied.
I never said the whole building was occupied. I said some of it was occupied.
Some of it, okay, so it looks here like the portion for Canada, for the federal government is occupied.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, I'm not too sure.
Okay. And then same theme as before, to the extent that there's easements located here or sewer capacity issues, that wasn't factored into the valuation.
Not that I know of.
Okay. It's good. Do you have any more questions? Okay, third time was the charm. We're good with our questions.
Thank you. Mr. Stephenson, any questions of the assessor?
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Nesbitt?
Yeah, but so just to clarify, this property is being assessed as vacant land,
Mhm.
you said, and there is now a building constructed that doesn't come into your valuation at all.
No.
But you did, I think, indicate there will be a 2025 sub.
Like from what I could tell, if it's already being occupied and we're in August, there most certainly will be one.
Which
I
will,
can't, sorry.
oh, no, that's okay. Which will essentially cancel out this particular value, right?
Yeah, because it'll be completely changed the value
Right.
method. So
Okay. Okay, I have no questions. I just wanted clarification on that.
Thank you, Ms. Nesbitt. I'm just trying to figure out the location here, Mr.
Mhm.
Deitchen. So we are on the east side of the Walmart,
Yes.
behind the hydro building that has just been purchased by an Aboriginal group, I believe. Somebody's just purchased, Hydro's just sold that office tower, right?
I'm not sure who bought it, but yeah, from what
Yeah.
I remember hearing it.
Okay, so we are located, the subject is located kind of behind that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, there's
or Harold Street, okay, yeah, Harold Street, there's the Hydro Museum there at the dead end there. Okay, right, I've got it, okay. All right, and as you stated, there's been improvements under development here not assessed for. And the assessor will establish a supplementary assessment date once that's assessed for. In the meantime, this vacant commercial land valuation will stay until that improvement is added.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And that picture of the new Government of Canada building, sorry, I lost here we are, my page here. So it's just to the east of Walmart. And is the subject property only is it only that piece that
No.
no, okay,
You could see on page, sorry, on my page 3, it runs like the whole way to, I guess it's Harrow.
oh, okay, so page 16, the bottom photo shows the Government of Canada,
Oh, yeah.
and then a flex office, and then a multifamily. That's potential development, is that right?
I believe that's just, yeah.
That's a site plan that they're
Yeah.
for the future, possibly, nothing locked in.
Right.
Okay, all right, good. That's everything from me, thank you. And now shall we deal with is there a rebuttal on the assessor's evidence?
There is, the same as the others, just some pictures.
Okay, Ms. Harlan, do we have that loaded?
Yes, I've just sent it to everybody, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Before you start, Mr. Applicant, could you allow us to get this pulled up, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there we are, 556, okay. Does everybody have it? Okay,
Okay. Oh.
when you're ready, please.
Oh, okay, so the same idea. The first picture is the Audi dealership. It's comparable to. The second picture is comparable 4, which is the Northtown Road development. And the third picture is comparable 5, the Lagimodier Hyundai dealership. So again, we're just trying to illustrate here, along with the Target building that was built at the former stadium site. All of these were development ready sites and not constrained by what we're going to be talking about.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Deitchen, any questions on the rebuttal?
No questions, thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Stephenson, any questions on the rebuttal?
No questions at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Nesbitt?
No questions, thank you.
And I have no questions either. The applicants, if you can just wait for us to pull up your brief, please. All right. There we have it. When you're ready, please.
Okay. Okay, once again, this one is very similar to the portion on the west side. And then we're still dealing with the same impairments and the same wastewater issue. I just wanted to point out a little bit stronger that if we go to we really can't build anything further than what is under construction right now. So that building that we were just talking about for the kind of food inspection agency, that's built, and then the commercial building that's on the other roll, that one is built, and basically what we're allowed to do right now, that is all we're allowed to do as of right now without further fighting with the city. So again, this 11.2 acres A portion of it is going, well, it's going to be reassessed with the new building, but that's all we can do right now.
And it's important to note that that new building that we're doing is industrial. And so one of the benefits when you're dealing with sewer constraints with industrial is they tend to be, you know, large areas, very few staff, you're using it to store or manufacture. And so you've got a very limited amount of washrooms, and limited washrooms mean limited outflow. So the reason why we built industrial there wasn't because we thought it was the best spot for industrial. In fact, we've had a real challenge leasing the space that Canada, the federal government isn't taking. But big picture, the reason we did that is just because that was all we could squeeze under what the city said we would be allowed to build in terms of outflow for wastewater. The other issue that we have here is, you know, when you look at this site plan, even when you look at an aerial, you don't really get a great picture of just how isolated it is. So even though it looks like it's on Sparling, it actually isn't. Manitoba Hydro has their fleet services along the road. So the only way to access this site is off of Harrow. But when you think of Harrow, this, you know, and it turns onto Pembina, this is the portion that dead ends that you don't drive down next to the electrical museum. So this isn't the amount of cars that actually drive down there that aren't hydro cars would be people who got lost trying to go to Walmart. And then on the other side, you're driving through the Walmart drive aisle next to the Manitoba Hydro building. Norway House was the ones that ultimately purchased it. And so this site really is isolated from just about any access. And so that's part of the reason it's been a challenge to do leasing for the industrial there is if you're trying to get to the site, like had we said, let's have the meeting on this piece of land, we would have been waiting half an hour for people to show up because it is really hard to find, even though it looks like it's in a good spot.
For the, again, industrial with the rail line there is actually probably better as well because you're not dealing with a lot of people working out of the building with some people living there. It's industrial.
Yeah.
Okay, page 9 is comparables again. We've used 6474 sturgeon and 725 black diamond and the other black diamond and 645 black diamond. That's all industrial development that's developed now on these vacant lands from this time. Inkster and Brookside is at Centerport, and the last two are in the Bridgewater area, and 40 Kennel Bleak is residential, and 365 Center Street is commercial. I'm just going to grab the square footage as we did them before. Okay. Everybody ready for the square footage sizes? Okay, the first one is 178,596. The second one is 139,392. Then 300,564. 413,820 is the next one. 282,704. The next one is 92,224. The last one is 324,261. And the sale price per foot, starting at the top going down, is $4.67, $4.87, $4.99, $5.10, $7.42, $15.59, $15.49. So
Okay.
this is It does show that, where there is more density, like Oblique and Bridgewater, where there's big commercial, the values are higher. The industrial values of the Black Diamond are lower.
Okay, thank you for those calculations. And your final estimate of value, please?
We're looking for the values to stay the same at in around 1,381,000. It's gonna get reassessed.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that covers us.
All right, thank you. Mr. Deitchen, any questions of the applicants?
No questions.
Thank you. Ms. Nesbitt?
No questions.
Thank you. Mr. Stephenson?
No questions, thank you.
And I have no questions either. That can, requirement or summary, Mr. Deitchen?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Applicants requirement for summary?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, we're the last item on the docket, item number 8. File number 24-590. Roll number is 13-0961-95900. We're dealing with a 2025 Realty Assessment Appeal, vacant commercial land. And the address is 855 St. James Street. And just for clarification, the applicants will have rebuttal again?
We do.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Harlan, if you would mind preparing that and providing it to us at your convenience, please.
I've just sent it to everybody, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Mr. Deitchen, 855 St. James Street, or should we confirm that everybody's received that? How about we do that first? Then we'll proceed.
Received.
I got it.
And I've got it also. Okay, good. Mr. Deitchen, bear with me one second. I'm lost again. Here we go. When you're ready, please, Mr. Deitchen.
Okay. File number 24590. Phone number is 13096195900. Address is 855 St. James Street. It is 2025 roll year. Assessed value is $19,148,000. It is a VCOM property zoned C3. Land area is 717,792 square feet. Again, on page 2 is the land valuation breakdown. That shows that it's at a square foot rate of $26.68. Page 3 is the subject property photos. As you can see, it's just, I think this is where the old Bomber Stadium was. It's on off St. James here. Continuing on to page 4 is just some more aerial photos of the property. Page 5 is the zoning breakdown showing that it's C3. Page 6 is the land sale comparables. Again, ranging from $27 to $35 square foot with a median of $28. As you see, 865 St. James is my first comparable, and it's where the target was just beside the subject property. And that one sold at $28.43 a square foot. Then continue on is the rest of the photos of the land sale comparables. Page 16 shows a brochure of this area, the plaza at Polo Park. Kind of shows some sort of, on page 17 shows kind of all the different retail stores and stuff that's around there, and shows that the area and just how much stuff is around there and how valuable the land is, I guess. Page 18 shows the plaza at Polo. So this is the park that was my first comparable. So now I believe it's some stores and the In Touch building. But it's just showing this area is the most dominant retail node between Toronto and Calgary. Plaza at Polo Park is 600,000 plus square feet. And it's dominated by large national retailers and service shoppers from all around Manitoba. And then it keeps talking about some more information of this area. Page 19 kind of shows, I guess, the concept plan of what they're hoping to do in the future, showing some retail, hotel. I can't read some of the other stuff, but you can see that there's some ideas for, on the next page, actually, page 20 shows it a little better. From retail, hotel, office, possibly some other little commercial buildings in there. Page 21, there's more information of the area. Page 22 from the brochure is kind of just another picture of the, I guess, potential that is planned maybe in the future of maybe some multifamily buildings there. Page 23 is more information of this area and the retail node and how much traffic and people come through there. And that is my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ditchin. Do the applicants have any questions on the evidence presented by the assessor?
We do. Oh, wait, so just briefly on the comparables, comparable ones, the target building adjacent to the site, or the land for the target.
They're all the same comparables as before.
Yeah, well, just for the two is the Audi dealership, 3 is the Portage and the West Portage and Festival Drive, 4 is the Bridgewater development, and 5 is the Hyundai dealership.
Yes.
And so on page 16, you've got a picture from our brochure, it says Plaza at Polo Park. This isn't the subject property, right?
I'm not sure if it's exactly, but I'm assuming Plaza at Polo Park is the whole area here.
But so this picture of a building though is
the building is not, no, that's what I was saying, it's the one beside it, that was a comparable one.
Okay, and then if you look at 18, there's a bigger picture of the same building, a zoomed in picture, and then there's PF Chang's, but none of that is on the subject property.
I don't believe so.
Okay. And then looking at page 22, you mentioned our beautiful rendering of potential residential here. Is residential currently allowed on the site?
I'm not too sure. I would think so.
You would think so?
I'm not too sure.
Okay, and are you aware of any sort of issues around entitlements and the airport here for this site?
Sorry, say it again?
Are you aware of any sort of issues with the entitlements in the airport related to this site?
No.
Okay, so and that wouldn't have been factored into the valuation?
Not that I know of. I'm not too sure.
Okay, I think that's all for us on that one.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Stephenson, any questions of the assessor?
No questions at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Nesbitt?
No questions.
And I have no questions either. We shall deal with the rebuttal evidence presented. Mr. Zarnowski, so just bear with me, I'm gonna have to find that again.
It'll be very familiar.
Yeah. Back and forth we go, okay. Hmm. Got it, okay. Does everybody have it?
Okay, so picture, the first page is the Audi dealership, which is comparable to, the second picture is comparable for the Bridgewater development. And 5 is the Hyundai dealership. Again, we're just showing these were sites that sold and then were immediately developed, unlike our site, which remains vacant.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Deitchen, any questions on the rebuttal?
I guess again, doesn't this kind of show that there's different versatility in these properties and what you can build?
What we can build or what others have built?
Well,
I mean, yeah,
what you could
retail's
build, I
flexible.
guess.
We've had no success building anything here. It's why we're pivoting to residential if the city will let us, but generally, yeah, I mean, C3, C4 zones are, you can build a lot of different commercial buildings.
That's all, thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Nesbitt?
I have no questions.
Thank you. Mr. Stephenson?
No questions.
Thank you, and I have no questions either. The applicants will proceed. If you just bear with us 1 second, I'll find your brief. Okay, when you're ready, please.
Okay, so this is a unique property. I mean, it's the vacant land portion of the stadium site that we acquired from the city in 2014. We had bought it with the intention of doing a kind of a normal open air shopping center anchored by a Target. And ultimately that all kind of blew up in our face. So Target went broke. We had to scramble to try and release some of the building. And what had happened is we gave Target sort of the best corner with all the visibility on St. James. And now we're left with the rest. Ultimately, long-term, this is going to be a residential development if the city will let us. But we're still at the point where we don't have entitlements, we don't have a hearing scheduled to get them, so we're valuing this as commercial property in an area that it is a dominant commercial node, no two ways about it. But part of that is there just isn't a lot of demand now for new retail here when people can go and take spaces that were occupied by Sears. And ultimately, we think there'll be an opportunity to take space from the bay in the Polo Park Shopping Center. So all of the new exciting retail that you see going in this area is going into the mall. And even where you've got open air sites, the Polo Park Shopping Center is taking some tenants like that. You see the TD Bank that's going at Portage and St. James. They're doing some redevelopment there in the old EQ3 space. So this is certainly secondary to the quality of Portage and St. James and the co-anchor of the shopping center. And so we just haven't had any success other than getting PF Chang's on the adjacent parcel to drive new retail development here. And so despite our boasts in our marketing material, ultimately this site hasn't been a successful retail development and we're repurposing it. So that's why we're saying ultimately the comparables here that you've got to look at if you're looking at it as commercial land are emerging areas that carry with them some risk and long-term development plays. And so we took the two call it newer developments in the Aurora area from McPhillips as our comparables. Again, sorry, we always use acres when we're thinking of development sites. But Diane's already done the math for you in terms of looking at the two McPhillips comparables.
Okay, so the first one is 1,115,049 square feet.
Ms. Schindelman, excuse me.
Sorry.
If you could provide us with this price per square foot, that's perfect.
Oh, $16.51.
Pardon
Pardon
me?
me,
$16.31.
Okay,
And the second one is $18.26.
perfect. Thank you.
And these are quite comparable in size.
And then just while we're doing it, we're saying this site, so the 14 million is $19.57 a foot. And so the last site constraint that's important here is one of the biggest sewers in Winnipeg actually runs directly through the site. It runs straight through the main hallway of CF Polo Park as well, down to the river. So we are constrained here a bit in terms of that if you've ever driven through the site, the main north-south drive aisle that would dead end or go to Miltsteagle Drive or near Miltsteagle Drive, that is all a giant sewer pipe. So we do have a constraint here. It's 15 meters through the entire site. But ultimately, we can drive on it, we can park it. So really our issue isn't even so much that it's the sewer easement. The other, and not to harp on the same thing, Polo Park is a combined sewer district. We haven't run into the same issues here that we have elsewhere because we haven't proposed new buildings. But there's certainly, if you were taking this to the market and a developer was buying this, I think they would be a significant deduction in value, because who knows what the city's going to actually allow you to do here in terms of commercial development. I don't know if they know how many toilets the old stadium had, but you might be stuck with that amount. And so ultimately, yeah, we're saying you should find a value of 14,067,000, which is the whatever per square foot, etc. 1957 a foot.
Okay. Anything else right now?
Nope, that's all for us.
Thank you. Mr. Deitchen, any questions on the applicant's evidence?
Just a couple. Comparable one is much larger than the subject property, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's bigger.
So 400,000 square feet more. Would economies of scale take effect in that at all, or?
But one big piece of land, just like.
Yeah, I mean, once you get to that size, I don't like, I mean, right, we're saying ours is worth more than these comparables.
Mhm.
I think you could factor size in as part of that discussion.
Would you agree the subject property is in a much better location than the two comparables?
God, I might have 10 years ago. I'm starting to think maybe not. I mean, the combined sewer district isn't an issue that the McPhillips sites have. And then, I mean, we've certainly seen a lot of crime and issues here, and then the oversaturation of retail in the area. You know, it'd be hard, yeah, it'd be hard to say. I don't know that that's as easy an answer as you think. I would take this and we're valuing it higher than those sites, but I don't think it's as clear cut as it might have seemed even 5 years ago.
Okay, wow. Are either of the comparables close to large shopping nodes then?
They're in large residential areas.
Yeah, I mean, they're in emerging communities, right?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's all my questions, right?
Thank you, Mr. Deitchen. Ms. Nesbitt, any questions of the assessor, of the applicant, I'm sorry?
Yeah, just one for clarification on page 2 of your brief, the one that shows the site map there. It says, it refers to a proposed sewer easement area. Is that sewer easement area in place, or is it still proposed?
So this was the best map we could find. The
Okay.
proposed opening on St. Matthews and the proposed sewer easement have since been
Okay,
the opposite of proposed is enacted.
okay. Okay. All right, just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stephenson, any questions?
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess my question to the applicant, Although it is the assessor's evidence, we know that the property right next door at 865 sold in 2013 for about 20, I'm going to say $28 a square foot, as presented by the assessor. What's your opinion on that, using that sale as a comparable?
Well, so I mean, that was our sale to Target, so we know all about it.
Yeah.
It's part of a larger transaction, so Cadillac Fairview is our partner on this site. They paid Target $17 million to leave the mall in a lease termination agreement, the old Zellers. And then as part of that, the 9.9 million was agreed to for the land. So we were able, really, to their mind, they were getting $7 million. So that 9.9 sort of, we pushed Cadillac Fairview as much as possible to pay as much in the lease termination to increase the value on this land. And so it was, and then on top of that, what Target bought wasn't just the land, but they also bought a bunch of development restrictions to make sure they were the dominant retailer on the site. So that 9.9 million is a little bit more nuanced than a typical vacant land sale, without that context.
Okay, so there's some business agreements involved in that selling price. Is that what you're saying?
It would be higher, that price was higher than it would have been, but for all that other stuff.
Okay, all right. Do you think a 2013 sale adjacent is relevant to the valuation of the subject property? When it's right next door, I guess that's what.
Yeah, it's next door. I mean, without all that extra sort of details, which I mean, in fairness, the assessor couldn't know. I don't think that sale is relevant. I think you could see one that might be, but that one's tough to put weight on. If I were you, I'd be hesitant.
Okay, and I know it's not your evidence, so I was just curious. Thank you.
Happy to tell a story.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. All right. Mr. Deitchen, any requirement for a summary?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. To the applicants, same offer for summary?
And same, we'll give you an extra minute for lunch.
Okay. Okay, that concludes item number 8, file number 24590. With that, we have heard all the items scheduled and this hearing is now adjourned. Thank you to Ms. Schindelman and Mr. Zarnowski and Mr. Deitchen for appearing, and you'll hear from us as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thanks.